After closing the door, I walked mechanically back into the living room. At the window, I stared at the few lights and at the empty early morning streets below. Dr. Mann emerged from the building and moved off toward Madison Avenue. He looked, from 3 floors up, like a stuffed dwarf. I had an urge to pick up the easy chair he had been sitting in and throw it through the glass window after him. Distorted images swirled through my mind. Jake's book lying darkly on the white tablecloth at lunch. The boy Eric's black eyes staring at me warmly. Lil and Arlene wriggling toward me. Blank pieces of paper on my desk. Dr. Mann's clouds of smoke mushrooming toward the ceiling. And Arlene, as she had left the room a few hours earlier, an open, sensuous yawn. For some reason, I felt like starting at one end of the room and running full speed to the other end and smashing right through the portrait of Freud which hung there. Instead, I turned from the window and walked back and forth until I was lost in the labyrinth of my own thoughts. The city outside, usually a comforting hum, felt like a distant, mocking echo. I was David, a writer, or at least I used to be. Now I was just a shell, haunted by the ghost of a story I couldn't write, a mystery I couldn't solve, and a woman I couldn't forget. Arlene. Her name was a whisper in the sterile air of my Upper West Side apartment. She was gone, vanished like a puff of smoke, leaving behind only the lingering scent of her perfume and a gaping hole in my life. The police called it a missing person case, routine. But I knew better. There was something sinister lurking beneath the surface, something that Dr. Mann, with his condescending smile and Freudian platitudes, couldn't possibly comprehend. Jake's book, the one that sat so innocently on the tablecloth, was the key. I was sure of it. The Serpent's Kiss, a collection of dark, twisted tales of obsession and betrayal. Arlene had been captivated by it, reading it aloud to me in the evenings, her voice a seductive murmur in the dimly lit room. But it wasn't just the stories that held her attention. It was the author, a reclusive figure known only as Silas, who lived somewhere in the city, shrouded in mystery. I had to find Silas. He was the only one who could tell me what happened to Arlene. But how? He was a ghost, a figment of the literary underworld. I started with Jake, a literary agent and an old friend. He claimed to know nothing about Silas's whereabouts, but his eyes darted nervously when I mentioned Arlene's name. He was hiding something. Then there was Eric, the boy with the unnervingly intense gaze. He worked at the bookstore where Arlene had bought The Serpent's Kiss. He remembered her, of course. He remembered everything. He said she had asked about Silas, about his life, his habits. He had given her an address, a vague location in the village, a place he claimed Silas frequented. The village was a maze of narrow streets and dimly lit bars, a breeding ground for secrets and shadows. I spent days searching, asking questions, following leads that led nowhere. The city felt like it was closing in on me, suffocating me with its indifference. Finally, I found it. A small, unassuming bookshop tucked away on a quiet side street. The sign above the door read, "The Serpent's Quill." Inside, the air was thick with the scent of old paper and forgotten dreams. A man sat behind the counter, his face hidden in shadow. "Silas?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He looked up, his eyes glinting in the dim light. "Who's asking?" "I'm looking for Arlene," I said. "She disappeared." A slow smile spread across his face. "Arlene," he said, his voice a low, hypnotic drawl. "She was a fascinating woman, but some stories—" He paused, his eyes locking onto mine. "Are best left unfinished." He knew what happened to her. The truth was right there, hanging in the air like a poisonous gas. I lunged across the counter, grabbing him by the throat. "Where is she?" I screamed. "What did you do to her?" He didn't resist. He just smiled, a knowing, unsettling smile. "She's part of the story now," he whispered. "And the story," he added, his voice barely audible, "must continue." The police found me there, hours later, covered in blood, Silas's lifeless body slumped behind the counter. They said it was self-defense, a tragic accident. But I knew better. I was just another character in Silas's twisted tale, a pawn in his macabre game. And Arlene? She was gone, lost in the labyrinth of his imagination, forever trapped within the pages of The Serpent's Kiss. The mystery remained, a dark, unsolved riddle etched into the heart of the city.